Hello and welcome to episode 482 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now coming up on today's episode, I'm joined by Chris Robertson, the frontman, the incredible songwriter, the guitarist, the vocalist, and all-round absolute awesome legend from the amazing band Blackstone Cherry. We get deep, we talk a lot about his background, a lot about the band's new music and the tour that's coming up later this year. We get deep, it's going to be good and it's worth sticking around for. But let's quickly touch base and talk about the last episode. On every episode of Mark and Me, I always use the intro just to quickly touch base and talk about the previous episode. It only came out a few days ago and it was with Chris DeMakes, the incredible singer and songwriter from Less Than Jake. Thank you so much to everyone that took the time to listen. I appreciate each and every one of you. It did great numbers and my God, people loved his personality, his charm, and he's just a great all-round guy. Really good podcaster as well, so go and listen to his podcast if you haven't checked it out. But now I want to get back to today's episode because it's one of my favourites. Me and Chris hit it off. He's such a humble, down-to-earth guy, and I just want to get straight to the interview. So here we are. Here's me and Chris from Blackstone Cherry. Thank you for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
So what I do with all guests, Chris, is I always like to take it right back to the very start, and I'm always intrigued. Everybody has that first album they remember. Maybe it's an embarrassing one. Maybe it was one that was given to you or you saved up with your pocket money. It could be the worst album ever or the best that started your career. But if you can be truly honest with me, can you remember that first one you listened to?
Yeah, I remember the first CD that I got that was mine to own for myself. I got a CD player and a CD for Christmas, and it was Hootie and the Blowfish Cracked Rear View.
Wow.
It was the first CD that I ever owned. I was a kid in the 90s. You know, they were massive, great songwriting. To this day, they're all still great songs, you know. And that was the CD I wanted.
Fair play. I mean, there was this kind of phase that came through. I was born in 82, so we're not too far apart.
Yeah.
I remember bands like Pearl Jam, Live, Hootie and the Blowfish, Counting Crows, Alice in Chains. They all kind of came through together, and Hootie and the Blowfish it was a strange one. They were like Counting Crows. They didn't quite get to the heaviness of like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and stuff, but they were still in that same kind of bracket, and the people that were buying those albums were still kind of choosing those albums too.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I remember getting that album, and then the next CDs I bought for myself were like Rage Against the Machine,
Amazing.
Nirvana, Alice in Chains, stuff like that. You know, it got much more distorted after that, I would say. You know, but yeah, dude, that Hootie and the Blowfish CD was one of the first ones. I mean, dude, to this day, it's still a great record. Yeah, I mean, like
I'll put it on later. I've not listened to it in years, literally.
It's still
years.
a great record, man.
Yeah. What about live music then, dude? So it all changed for me. I think, probably 12. First gig, I was very lucky. It was Green Day on their Dookie tour. I was blown away. I came home that night and I think I told my parents, like, I just want to be in a band. That's all I want to do. Were you lucky? Was your first gig a great one, or?
So the first gig I went to was, as a child, we went on vacation to Dolly World. And I had kind of forgotten about this for a long time. But we went to Dolly World and Charlie Daniels played a show. And, you know, this is late 80s, early 90s when I was a kid, you know, because I was born in 85. So, you know, Charlie Daniels up there wearing that fiddle out was a sight to see, you know, and I grew up on a lot of country music. So seeing that was pretty unreal, you know, that was insane. And live music was always like a thing because my dad played guitar up until he passed away. But we would always have like concert films on. And there are two that I vividly remember we watched probably the most, and that was AC/DC No Bull.
Amazing.
And then we watched Freebird the movie, the Skinner
Bloody
when where it's
hell.
got all the footage from the 70s. And dude, we would go to the video store and rent those two movies
Again and
almost
again.
weekly. Yeah, dude, we would go rent the VHS tapes and like I, between those two, and then when Cunning Stunts came out from Metallica,
Oh, wow.
that was one that I would watch a lot as well. Because like, dude, we didn't. Growing up, I didn't have money to go to concerts really. Like the Charlie Daniels thing was just so happened to be he was playing at Dollywood while we were there. For 2 days, and so we didn't have money for concerts, but we could go rent a video, on Saturday night for $3 and keep it till Wednesday and watch that concert, 20 times in that time frame. So it was a lot of watching them on VHS tapes back in the day. Really, was the majority of live music that or going with my dad. He played like country dance halls and stuff, and I would go out and listen to him play. And that was from the time I was probably 8 or 10 weeks old. They would
Wow.
have me in the car seat, smoky filled dance halls. It's probably
So,
the way I sing like I do now.
were you encouraged by your father then? Because I have a lot of bands on, and the moment their son or their daughter turns around and turns and says, "Mom, Dad, I want to be in a band," or "I want to try and make a career in music," it's kind of a sends a shiver down their spine because they're in fear. They're like, "Oh God, like that's such a tough world to get
No, that
into."
that wasn't the case for us.
No, it
My
sounds
dad
like the
was,
opposite, surely.
yeah, no, my dad was, he wanted me to know that it wasn't going to be easy, that there's a million people trying to do the exact same thing. But he was also probably the biggest fan I ever had in the world. He was so supportive of everything I ever did musically. Now he'd call me a dumbass in a lot of regards, but when it came to music, he was always nothing but supportive. I mean, my best friend, so to have your dad be, your best friend and then also be one of your biggest fans is something that I'm truly grateful that I got to experience.
And that is really the only approval you really need when it means so much to you. Like my dad's my superhero, and
Same.
he's luckily still with me, but he's 88, and I see him as literally like a superhero. I just
Yeah,
can't believe that I'm lucky enough to have him as my dad. So if he listens to a
man.
podcast or I get a guest that he knows of and he listens, I'm just like, ah, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, dude, and that's the thing, it's funny you say superhero because when I was talking to people, when my dad was really sick and cancer had kind of become too much, they were like, I can't imagine. And I said, well, imagine you're staring at Superman and there's someone pouring kryptonite on him and there's nothing you can do about it. Like that's kind of what the feeling was because
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do but be there, in times like that. So yeah, I mean, I can only hope that one day my kid looks at me the same way I did my dad.
Just keep doing what you do, dude, and you've got the
Thanks,
best
sir.
blueprint, haven't you, there from your own dad.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, your band's been going since 2001, so 25 years this year.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy. Like, that's
25
genuinely
years.
crazy. How do you get your head around that? Does it feel that long, or does it still feel fresh? The fact you just got an EP out and you're touring and you're playing with Shinedown and you're coming to the UK and it all feels fresh again. It all feels new. It must feel surely not like 2.5 decades.
No, I mean, dude, it's like anything. There are days where it feels like 2 days, and then there's days where it feels like 25 years.
Yeah,
So it's like anything you do in life, that you're working at or working towards. There's days it feels like things are moving way too slow, and then there's days that you're going, holy shit, how did that happen? So it's I'd say a bit of both, but more so it still feels great. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, for something to be going for over 2 decades
yeah.
and to still have a good feeling and to still be happy to do it, that's the ultimate goal for me, and I'm so thankful that we're still here and can still go out and do this thing. And we still want to go do our best. We I'm going to steal one from Alice Cooper. I still don't think we played our best show, you know,
That's
and
awesome.
our best song's still sitting out there. That was a statement that Alice said to us at dinner one night. We were just talking life and touring and stuff. And, we're like, Alice, it's so awesome that you're still out here doing this. And that was his response. He said, I don't think I've played my best show. I don't know that I've written my best song yet.
I love that. That's going to
And
stay
that's
with me. That's
Alice
going to stay with
Cooper.
me. Yeah. I'm like, what?
You know what I mean? That's Alice Cooper. He's done it all, and for him to say that, it was kind of like it reignited a little bit of a fire under us. You know what I mean?
I wonder if you die and you've still never accepted it as being your best show because you never can hit that kind of height that is enough because you've always got that hunger.
I think that certain people will will either never feel they've accomplished enough, or it takes that final little bit for them to reflect and go, damn, I really did set out to do,
Yeah.
what I did. And I don't know, man. Like I'm very proud of everything we've got to do, but I still feel like there's more to be done, and it being a musician, any kind of artist, really, whether you're an actor, whether you work with, paints or charcoals or any form of art. I think the only time that people go, okay, it's enough, it's when they quit, when they give it up and they decide to do something else. Because anybody I've ever known that is into any form of art, they're always trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. Whatever it is they do, they want to, become even better at that. And I mean, man, I've been playing guitar now for, I'll be 41 this year. It'll be 28 years this year that I've been playing guitar when June hits.
Wow.
And I still sit around every single day and play my guitar, just trying to pick up something new, or stumble onto something. And it's also like a guitar is another part of me to some degree, but it's that thing, man, of, you never want to settle where you're at. You always want to keep getting better at your craft.
So was Blackstone Cherry your first go at being in a band, or did you do the kind of college battle of the bands things and covers bands and experiment, or?
So the only one of us, I think Steve may have went to college,
Yeah.
and John Fred went for a few days, like literally like 3 weeks worth of classes. John Fred went.
This isn't for
But me
me.
and
Yeah.
Ben, dude, me and Ben and John Fred, we started, you know, in 2001 with our original bass player, John. And we had that lineup until 2021, right before our 20th anniversary. And John stepped away at the end of 20 or so. Steve came on playing bass, just filling in, kind of came into the role, and he's been our guy ever since. It's like Steve was always there. So when you look back, when we started the band, I was in one other band before, and we played two gigs. We played two high school dances and one talent show. And it was just like a high school kind of band thing. I was a freshman, I think. And these other dudes were, seniors and juniors, but they needed a guitar player
Yeah.
and they needed a lead guitar player. And it just so happened that I was one of like a handful of guys at school that played. So they hollered at me. I went in and sat in. I got to go to prom, which was cool. And then we did a talent show, and then we did another school dance. And that was kind of all we ever did. We practiced about 10 times, and that was it. And then fast forward to the summer of like between sophomore and junior year, or right before sophomore year, maybe, we started the band. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago. I mean, we're talking
Of
20 plus
course.
years ago
Yeah.
at this point. But dude, we started the band. So it was really the first serious band I've ever been in is Blackstone Cherry. So I don't know anything else. I only know the way that we've done our band from the get go, and it's we're bros first, a band second, and if we do it that way, the music will come naturally.
Did you have any pressure that at such a young age. You're putting everything into this. I know you said your dad was a true believer because he's a musician too, but was there like a plan B, or was it always only going to be this is what I'm going to do and this is my only option because I just can't. I don't want to work in a shop. I don't want to do an office job. I don't want to do the corporate stuff. I just want to be in a band.
Yeah, no, for me, there really wasn't a plan B. It was just if this doesn't work, I'll go do manual labor or work in a factory. I
Yeah.
mean, that's about all I'm qualified for outside of music. I graduated high school, but that's as far as that went. And my grades didn't reflect my intelligence per se. I wasn't a fan of school very much. I got very bored with it very quick. Probably have a little bit of undiagnosed ADHD to some degree, but
Yeah.
I like it was, I couldn't stay focused on the task at hand a lot of times in school. Like I'd get bored with it or whatever. Math was the only thing I was ever, interested in is numbers. It's interesting to me. Hate money, love numbers. Um, but no, man, for me, it was music or I'll go do what everybody else I know does. They work a job that's either manual labor or in a factory, and then they play their music on the weekends. Regardless of had this worked out for me or not, I'd still be playing music in some degree. Whether that was just doing covers on the weekends or writing my own songs at home, just doing whatever. Music is was something that I found in childhood that could take me places that I'd never been or never dreamed of going. And the minute I decided to pick that up and try to do something with it, and guitar playing kind of came natural to me, like learning how to do the chords, learning how to just learning songs.
Yeah.
Like I never took any formal lessons or anything. I just learned by ear. My dad showed me chords and then I learned records by ear. So it was, I kind of bonded with it. So I mean, it'll always be a part of my life, regardless of anything.
Did you feel there was a turning point? I mean, obviously, the first day you went in a rehearsal room, you weren't suddenly on a big stage at a festival. Was there a moment so many years in that you felt like this is the moment that it feels like it was all worth it? This feels like we've turned a point here, and this is actually going to take off. This is something that, has been worth all the graft we've put in.
Man, I want to say like we came over and did a festival. I think it was called Hyde Park Calling, or it may have been
Oh
Park
yeah,
Rock
hi.
Calling.
Yeah, yeah.
But it had two different names for a minute. But this was in 2007, and we came over and did a festival in the tent. And I think Joe Satriani headlined the tent, and Aerosmith headlined the main stage.
Wow.
And when we got home, the reviews came in for that, and people loved us. And we were kind of taken back by it a little bit. We were like, damn, we didn't expect this. We were just hoping to go over and have a good show. And then we book our first headlining tour. And the last show is at the Astoria on Halloween, and it sells out.
That's awesome.
And when we were able to sell out that venue, we were kind of like, this may be going to work, because it's all so uncertain when you first start out. Back then it was different times. Record labels were more about building a band a little bit, and they would give you a little more time to grow and things like that. And I remember that first year in 2006, we were on the road nonstop. And then we come 2007, it's the same thing. And then, but at the end of 2007, I think it was when we did that tour and we sold that show out, we just kind of had this feeling of, okay, like we're going to be able to do this and continue to do this. And thankfully for us, through coming back over and the amazing fans over there, we've been able to build it and grow it to something truly magical. When we come over to the UK, it's something truly special.
Are you able to take, I asked this to a lot of bands, but are you able to take a step back and see since that gig, um, the growth that each stage you play at each festival every few years is bigger? There's more people turning up, the crowds are bigger, there's more merch sold, there's people singing the songs back to you. Can you reflect, or is it too difficult because you're so incorporated in it and it's part of you that it's impossible to kind of even step out of yourself and see it as an outcome?
I think if we didn't have YouTube, it would be very difficult to look
Yeah,
back and see it, but thankfully with that, you can look back and see, the first tour and the second tour and then all the tours, how they progressed, to we started in, like corporation in Sheffield,
yeah,
and we've played the arena there now. So it's like to see that growth is pretty surreal, truthfully. You sit back and go, holy shit, how did we make this happen? How has it all worked like this? But and that's the question, what is it about our band in the UK that we've connected with each other so much? And dude, if we knew the answer to that, we would most definitely try to apply it everywhere, but it's it's that we're just thankful to have it somewhere,
yeah,
and luckily it's in a place where people really like their live rock and roll.
yeah. And the good thing is, with new music out, it gives you an excuse to come back. And I see you're doing a series of UK events towards the end of the year. But is it like a two-part celebration thing? I've seen this kind of,
Yeah, so
it,
we're still figuring out all the logistics, but we're
yeah,
celebrating the 20th anniversary of the first album coming out,
amazing.
along with the new EP,
Yeah,
that comes out March 6th. So yeah, we're gonna do something really cool, man. We're gonna play that first record, and then we're gonna play a bunch of other stuff too. So it's gonna be um, in some ways kind of like the Experience Kentucky tour where we opened up for ourselves, but we
yeah,
haven't decided exactly how we're going to do the set list yet. Which way we're going to, if we're going to intertwine, if we're going to play start to finish, how we're going to break the songs up or whatnot. We haven't really got that nailed down 100% yet. We've floated out 3 or 4 different ideas to each other, but we just haven't nailed that one down yet.
it must be really difficult because it's incredible to play new music, isn't it? As a band, you've got that excuse to play those songs. They're going to feel exciting. They're going to feel raw, new. See how the crowd reacts to them, what works, what doesn't, experimenting. But at the same time, you've got that incredible album that's got its legacy of 20 years, and people are paying at that point to see that. So you kind of think, do you get the EP out there and give them an experience, but straight away the crowd aren't in the palm of your hand because they're warming up and they're like, oh, I know some of these songs, this is pretty good. And then it's like, here you go, boom. Or do you mix it up and I don't know. That must be a
Yeah,
head.
it's
I don't know what to do.
yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why we keep going back and forth. We're like, do we play the first album front to back and then play, new stuff and other assorted hits, or do we, you know, kind of mix them in the set list and we just make sure we play all those songs, or how do we do it? And it's trying to figure out the best way for the environment of the show, really,
Yeah,
because you can plan it a million ways, but until you get on stage and do it the first night, rehearsals mean nothing, and we're
yeah,
not really a rehearsal band anyway. So when we rehearse, it's at sound check, we run over whichever song we haven't played most recently. Truthfully, like that's our rehearsals, because we're I don't know, man. We're a weird kind of band, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. It always amazes me when I hear bands do 2 month long rehearsals for a tour or something, and I'm like, I understand, and like, but for us, our show's not on time code. Our show's not like synced up to anything. It's literally like the Wild West, jump on a bull and see how long you can hang on. It's like with our lighting guys, because we don't play to a metronome or anything. So, one night we may be a couple beats faster or we may be slower. So everything has to be hit by hand kind of with our show. So it's kind of throw it up in the air and see what comes down.
if I had told you 20 years ago the journey you had ahead of you, you probably would have told me to fuck off because, like you said, you come to the UK and you just don't know what it is. That magic happens, but you don't want to question it too much because you get to celebrate it. And it's an amazing formula that works. But What's left, do you feel, that you still want to achieve individually as part of the band? Is there a certain festival you're eager to play, or a stage, or a support slot, or share the stage, or get a guest on your album? There must be something that keeps inside that kind of clock ticking that makes you still want to keep doing this every single day.
I think the biggest thing is just seeing how far we can take it,
Yeah,
and truthfully, man, I mean, we understand that we're very fortunate. In the last 25 years, there have been so many bands come and go, and we're still here somehow, by good graces or whatever, we're still here. And I think the biggest driving force in us is, we want to see how far we can go. And then, dude, look, just speaking truthful, a lot of times when a band that's been together as long as we have loses a guy, you don't know how it's going to go,
no,
because people have expected and seen one thing for 2 decades. So for us, the response to Steve and the way that all was accepted, and it was another thing that lit a fire under us, man. Of people going, hell yeah, Steve's ours. Like just accepting him in like that really really meant the world to us, and it kind of sparked us. It's kind of like round two, if that makes sense.
of
You know what I mean?
course.
Like we did the thing. You get knocked down, you get back up, you go for round two, and that's where we're at.
Do you feel that gave you fresh blood, fresh thoughts, like the clean slate, the new ideas, the new dynamic?
Yeah, I think so, because I think anytime that you go through something like that, you literally sit back and go, okay, what now?
Yeah,
And then instead of going, well, this, or this, sometimes it just opens your mind up to all the other possibilities, and like I don't know, I just like, and it wasn't a conscious effort, but I really like the direction that some of the songs have taken in the last few recordings,
yeah.
where the dynamics of the song come out a little bit more, not only wrong, there's songs that are just kind of banging all the way through, but there's also songs that, have a bit more dynamic range to them.
I suppose at this point, it looks great. New music coming out, so you're excited. Loads of shows supporting Shinedown. What a band they are!
Yes,
Great
sir.
guys,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
dude. They're
Um,
longtime friends of ours.
yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. Like everything's going well. I suppose for me, only meeting you today for the first time, I can't see that there's anything that's going to stop this going. Like I can't see that you'd be like, oh, I'm bored now, and I'll take up art, or I'll become a
No, I
skateboarder.
don't know anything else.
I just feel
No.
like this is you.
Yeah, dude, it's all I've ever been. Since I was 13 years old, all I wanted to do was be a guitar player in a band. And then we started our band and I became the singer. And it took me a long time to accept that like singer role. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like just to accept the fact that me singing is more important than me playing guitar. Like that was a real thing for me, because I always wanted to be a guitar player. I didn't want to sing. I was a guy that sounded different. So I was a guy that got the job. And that was difficult, but it's something that I've learned to love both of them. And I don't know, man. I don't know anything else. Truthfully, it's the only profession I've ever had is musician songwriter. That's it. So I hope it can stay that way the rest of my life.
is there ever a plan B? Do you ever think if I couldn't play music again that I would just, I don't know, produce or record or still
Yeah,
do something?
I mean, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm 40, so over the last few years, you think about, okay, well, you know, if God forbid something were to happen that I couldn't tour anymore for whatever reason,
Yeah,
then I would work out of a studio. I would do studio work, produce, record, write, be a studio guitar player, whatever I needed to do to still be able to play music. That is what I would do.
that's it forever, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yes. That's I know a lot of people in the industry have lots of, things they love doing, but nothing does it for me like music.
Does it get harder as you get older to be away from home for so long?
Yeah. And, it's like Declan's 13 now.
Yeah,
So he was born into this and, he understands it, I think, better than, say, somebody who was 10 years old and then one of their parents got a record deal and had to go on the road and stuff. That would be really tough.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, it does get tougher to be gone for extended periods of time. Once you hit that 2, 3 week mark, you're like, dang, I'd like to go back home for a day.
yeah.
And people that haven't ever toured, like, dang, dude, to get to go for 3 weeks and it'd be amazing. I'm like, yeah, it is. But when you do that for 20 years, you get to a point where there's nothing in the world that feels as amazing as playing a show.
No.
It's those other 22 hours a day that can sit and kind of eat at you and let your thoughts run wild and things like that. And that's when it gets hard being on the road is on those off days, down days, where you really don't have anything to do. And it's especially like that when the weather's shitty. If you got
Yeah.
shitty weather and a day off, you'd rather be at home any day of the week.
I see it. I go to do interviews with bands at their gigs, especially in the UK, and even just the sound checks and the waiting in between and while the other support bands are playing, it just feels not monotonous, but it just feels a bit like I can see that, and this goes with absolute full respect to the bands I've interviewed. You can see that part is the job,
Mhm.
and you see like, oh, this is a bit like a 9 to 5. Like you're getting in, you're getting the load in, all the merch is getting set up. You might be doing a bit of press. If not, you're sitting around getting ready and just kind of waiting around. It's only that kind of buzz and the serotonin kind of release of going on that stage for that hour and a half, 2 hours. And then it's like Groundhog Day. It's like, right, pack down, let's now stop and then do it all again. And I think some people lose sight and think that you just turn up in a limo, get out, go on stage, play the best show of your life, get back in, start drinking, partying, and do it all again.
Yeah, no, there's nothing like that. I mean, dude,
Reality is,
trust me. I
yeah,
mean, we've played with artists that they show up right before the gig and then they leave as soon as they walk off stage into a car. But that's not how we do it.
no,
Like we're the way we travel is our whole band and crew are on one bus,
yeah,
and so there's like 10, 11 of us on one bus, and from the minute we get to a venue, so let's take a day in the States, right? So we get to a
yeah,
venue, we load in, say 11 a.m. Sound check is at 3:30, and then doors probably 7, and then we're on at 9 or 9:30. So literally from 11 till about 9, it's like you wait to go do sound check, and then you do your interviews, like you said, and then it's just like that waiting. You're
yeah,
waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting. And then you get about 30 minutes before the show time, you get that adrenaline rush start going, like, because it's just, I guess athletes get the same way.
yeah, of
A little
course,
bit before
yes,
go time, you start getting that feeling of like, all right. You can start feeling the tingliness and everything, and it's go time. But and I think that's why our shows have always been so important to us, because that's the true escape. That's what the escapism of a concert is all about. Is people who come up, you know, and they want the best for what their money can buy them. They want the best. So we do our best every night to go give that and try to make it something memorable. And are you always going to succeed? No, but I would like to think that more times than not, that is the case, that people leave going, that was awesome. I really needed that. I'm glad I went.
Is it getting harder as time goes on with more music being released year after year to pick a set list to please everyone? we talked about doing the 20th anniversary and then the new EP, but a standard gig where you're opening for Shinedown, you want to win new fans over that have bought tickets for them. You want people that have turned up for you to be happy and hear the hits, but at the same time, as musicians,
Those are the
probably,
really
yeah,
those are the really tough set lists. Like, when we go out with Shinedown, we're playing 30, 40 minutes, somewhere between there typically. And if we did not have new music out, it's a little easier
yeah,
because you're not promoting that song, but we've got new music out. So when we do that tour is really for the Celebrate EP coming out. It doesn't really factor into the 20th anniversary of the record per se,
no,
but we've still got to play a couple songs from our past. That way people will recognize and remember those songs, hopefully, and go, oh, yeah, I remember that one, because we've had some success in the States at radio, but never like a massive success. So those songs that were successful, we need to throw a couple of those in, but we've also got to play the new stuff as well. So it gets really difficult. The hardest thing for me is remembering all the lyrics with all this many albums and this many songs, plus you add in the covers that we've done. I don't have a teleprompter.
no,
So
I don't know I don't know how you do it. I don't know. It's impossible.
dude, it's funny when I play. Me and my son and my brother, we do a cover band, or we do like Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins and Alice in Chains and stuff like that.
Amazing.
And we go play at this little local bar in Bowling Green. They do a talent thing where kids can come in and play. So we go in and play that, and we have such a good time doing it, man. It's like, but that for me is like, it takes me back to when I was a kid learning those songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and relearning that stuff. I don't know. I love music, dude. I meet up with it. We get to play tomorrow, and I'm super pumped about it.
It sounds exciting, dude. What I do on this podcast, and it's my final question for you today, and I've done it with every band that's been on and every artist. As this podcast is all edited, it'll have clips of your new EP on, but it'll also obviously be our interview. But at the very end, a piece of music is played in its entirety. And the reason I do this is because I like to ask the artist on the spot. So I'm asking you right now, on this literally exact moment, for you to choose a song that means a lot to you personally. Now, you can pick your own band, but in 9 years, only one person's ever done that. I would love to hear a song that means a lot to you personally, that you would love to be
Tuesday's
played
Gone
at.
by Leonard Skinner.
Oh, man, that's a hell of a tune. Why do you
Favorite song of all
I
time.
was about to say, why do you think that one was chosen before anything else? But if it's your favorite song of all time, then
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just one of the most beautifully written songs of all time, in my opinion. I mean, I know there are pieces out there that are equally as beautiful in their own right, but there's something about that one to me
yeah,
that just, when it comes on, and you just listen to all of it.
phenomenal, dude. I am so grateful for your time today.
Same to you, sir.
I can't wait to see you guys play. I'll come to some of the UK shows. I genuinely can't wait. And our paths will cross again and again. I'll come and say hello. And
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah, it'll be fucking awesome, dude. But I'll tag you in on all the socials. I'll tell the world to go and listen to the EP, buy
Thank you,
tickets.
sir.
And I think most of the UK shows have already sold out. So you're doing pretty good, man.
We're trying, man. We're trying. Thank you
And
so much, Mark.
I
Hope
will
have a
see
great
you
day,
very
man.
soon. So thanks for your patience again.
Yes, sir. See you, buddy.
Take care, dude. So there's my interview with me and Chris from Blackstone Cherry. What a legend. Really down to earth, really humble man. Well, in one of the biggest bands out there and still keeps his head screwed on. Really logical thinker, and I just fucking loved him. So thanks so much, Chris, for coming on Mark and Me. It really does mean a lot. And if you're listening to this, go and check out the band's new music. Go and get yourself a ticket to the UK tour at the end of the year. It's going to be fucking awesome. And go and listen to the band. If you haven't listened to Blackstone Cherry, there's a few snippets on this podcast. You just heard a snippet, and again at the start of the podcast. They're fucking awesome. I swear quite a bit today. Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing so much. But they are. They're absolutely awesome. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for taking the time to listen to today's episode with Blackstone Cherry. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take the time as always just to share the episode. You can do this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Or just tell your friends, or if you go to a gig, tell someone that's got a t-shirt on that you see of Blackstone Cherry, or if you just know someone that likes good music, say to them, go and listen to Mark and me. They've got Blackstone Cherry on this week, you know. Those people then go and listen, they like it, they subscribe, and the next thing you know, I've got a listener on board full time just because you told them about the podcast. That costs you nothing, and it means that that person might then go and tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and before you know it, everyone's listening to Mark and me just for you telling one of your close friends. This podcast as well only gets to be here because of my Patreon. Every penny that comes in via Patreon goes right back into the podcast. It allows me to go out there, record interviews face-to-face all around the country, attend festivals, and basically keep the podcast hosted. But what I've done this year so far, we're nearly 5 months in, is I've donated every penny that's come in this year to cancer research. It's a huge, important charity and means a lot to me personally. So if you do sign up on there, I'm going to carry on that for the rest of the year. And like I said, it all really makes a difference. I want to give a shout out to the two sponsors of Mark and Me, starting with Richer Sounds. If you want to get yourself anything to do with audio and visual, they are the experts. They've got shops all over the UK and a great website, richersounds.com. Go and buy yourself something. They won't be beaten on price and truly are the experts that know everything there is to do with audio and visual. And finally, Vice Press. If you want a licensed print or a poster by the best artists in the world that's all official, go on their website, vicepress.com, add anything to the basket, and if you use the discount code MarkandMe26, you save yourself 10% off your first purchase. It's a no-brainer. You'll want to buy some incredible stuff. I've recently had a new Evil Dead and Jaws poster, and trust me, they look awesome. I'm going to go now, and before I go, I want to say one last thank you to Blackstone Cherry for coming on the podcast. In the meantime, guys, until a brand new episode comes up, which will only be a few days away, it's getting really busy again and festival season's almost here. Listen to Blackstone Cherry, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Now feel the wind blow outside my door. Meantime, I'm leaving my woman at home. Tuesday's gone with the wind. Oh, my baby's gone with the wind. And I don't know, oh, where I'm going. I just want to be left alone. Well, when this train ends, I'll try again. I'm leaving my woman at home. Well, Tuesday's gone with the wind. blue way. Today you see, she had to be free, Lord, but somehow I got to carry on. My baby's gone. I'm riding my